In my previous video about Australian Business Week, I talked about how the business model worked and took you through the basics of running a business, and then jumped into some fairly advanced sort of concepts in terms of how to set the price. Now in this second video, what I want to do is look at the reports that you're going to get back at the end of each quarter. So you're going to enter your decisions into the computer, and it's going to compare how you went against the other teams, and it's going to come back and give you the results. And so you're going to end up with a wad of pages, and most teams have absolutely no idea. So you're going to look at these numbers, they're totally meaningless to you. And in fact, these are the numbers that most business owners are given, and they don't understand themselves. So I'm going to take you through the critical ones. I'm going to show you what you need to be looking at. I'm going to tell you what the pitfalls are that you need to be avoiding and how to fix it, and hopefully into making the right decisions to be growing your business. So here we go. What are the reports that you're getting? Now, the very first report that you have is the share price. Now, that's really a who's winning type report. And the goal is in the last couple quarters to have the highest share price. But my recommendation is early on, ignore it. Just don't compare yourself to the other teams. What you're going to find is that early on, a couple of the decisions are going to allow people to shoot forwards, and they're going to penalize them later on. Your goal is not to be winning in the first couple rounds. Your goal is to be winning at the end. So for now, just ignore the share price. Don't get stressed about it. Instead, flip over and have a look at the marketing report. This is the what did we actually do in the last quarter type report. And so it's going to tell you about what you started with, what you sold, where you ended up. And so this is the guts of your sales. So there's a couple terms that you must understand. The first term is opening inventory. Now this is what did we have left over from the last quarter, or how many bikes did we have at the start. So this is day one of the quarter, what's sitting in the warehouse that you need to sell. Over the quarter though, you did manufacturing, and so you're going to make new bikes, and so distribution is how many bikes did you actually make in this quarter, or how many new bikes do we own. And so keep in mind that your opening inventory plus your distribution are the total number of bikes that you have available for sale during the quarter. The next thing that you do is you subtract how many at the clearance price. And so they're the bikes that you discounted, sold cheaper. They will go out and get removed from how much stock you've got. And then the next one is how many units did you actually sell. So these are how many bikes did you sell at the normal price. And once you've got all of those, your opening inventory plus your distribution minus your clearance minus your units sold is your closing inventory. And in the image I've got on the screen, start with 4, build 3, 1 went out at clearance, sold 5, which means your closing inventory would be 1. Now in ABW, you don't talk about individuals, you're talking about thousands of bikes, but you see from this, these are what the terms mean. So here are the tips. These are the things that you need to know. First tip is you never ever want to have zero closing inventory. You've lost sales if you do. So like walking into Coles or Woolies and going to the shelf to buy something and the shelf's empty. Now, you don't know if one person did that, if 100 people did that, or if 1,000 people did it. All you know is that because there's nothing on the shelf, you can't sell it, so therefore you're losing business. So you can never ever have zero closing inventory. If you do, there's two solutions. One is you increase production, that is you make more bikes, or you increase your price, which will decrease your demand. Now, my recommendation is the solution is actually going to be a combination of both of those. So if you run out of stock, fantastic, you have got a bike that is in demand, and so chances are you can increase your price, and at the same time you need to be increasing your production to take increase your supply. So think about doing both. There are some bad solutions. You definitely don't want to do things like decrease your advertising or whatever to decrease demand. Remember, the way to win ABW is to sell as much as possible at the best possible price. So don't increase your advertising. Do you want to increase it? Well, you need to decide. And the other thing that you don't want to do is massively increase production. So you don't, for example, want to necessarily double everything, but you do want to increase it. And if you're still not making enough, then you start to think about significantly increasing it. So notch up your price, notch up your production, and see how things go. That's about it for that report. The next report that you want to look at is your operations report. Now, this is the what did we make report. And my tip is ignore most of it at the start of the game. It's just going to confuse you. It confused me, and so skip it. But wait a minute, I said most, not all. There is one number that you must know, and it's hidden down the bottom. It's in the cost analysis section. And it's the unit production cost. Now, your unit production cost is how much it costs to make a single bike. And you never ever want to go below that when you're trying to sell them. For your clearance, if you're really desperate, you can go below your unit production costs, but just realize that you are selling those bikes making a loss. As a rule of thumb, you never ever want to go below your unit production cost, and you need to keep track of it, because as the game progresses, in the second half of the game in particular, you're going to be making bigger decisions that will be driving the production cost up or down. Also, if you do start to see a significant increase in your production costs, then that means that you've got issues that you need to be tackling. And in my next video, I'll be talking about some of those more advanced sort of decisions that you'll be doing that may be impacting on your unit production cost. For now, just know it's there. Keep an eye on it quarter to quarter. The next report is the finance report. Now, this is the Am I Rich report, or for most of you, it's Why Don't I Have Any Money report. Your goal is to turn it into the Am I Rich report by the end of the game. Now, once again, there's a couple of terms that you need to understand. First term is revenue. So that's what money has come into your company through sales minus the cost of actually making the bikes. Then there's expenses. Now, these are all your other costs, and in businesses they're referred to as overheads. These are the costs not directly relating to making a bike, but the ones that you still have to pay. So this is paying for the lights and paying for the roof over your head. It's paying for advertising. It's paying for all those other things that aren't directly related to making a bike. Then there's taxes. We all know what a tax is. That's where the government's putting their hand into your pocket, taking your money. So yes, you have to take into account tax, and what's left over from your revenue minus your expenses minus tax, that's your profit, and that's how much money you have changed by in the quarter. Now, there's a big warning, and most people don't realize this. Brackets mean negative. So if you see a profit of, in brackets, $123,300, that means you've actually lost $123,300. Great dollars. So brackets are negative, they're bad. Okay, next report is your performance report. This is the what do my shareholders really think report, and ignore it early on. It's just going to confuse you. There's some great tips on nailing the game in the last quarter, but yeah, just ignore it. So, a couple of huge bonus tips. Anyone who's made it this far into the video. All the reports are then repeated in the second half, but these are the industry average. Now, what I mean by industry average is this is the average of what all the teams are doing. So it's not any team, it's all the teams together. It's what your competition's doing, and you can have a sneak peek at it. So a couple tips. First of all, know what the average clearance price is. So this is on average what all the bikes on special are being sold at, but don't try to compete with it. Just notice how desperate some of the teams are to dump stock, and just be glad that you're not one of them. So be aware this is the dumping price, and you can see what's going on. You can also see how much stock's being dumped on the market. The next tip is know what the average unit price is. And this is the really important one, because this is telling you on average how much a bike's being sold for. And so know what your winning strategy is going to be. If you're competing on price, you need to be dropping under this. But if you're trying to compete on quality and features, then you need to be above this. So this is the average bike price in the market. You know what it is, decide whether or not you want to be above or below it. And the other one is the average units sold. Now, this is the total demand for bikes. This is how many bikes have been sold in the quarter. Over the game, it was likely to increase each quarter, but just be aware there is a sudden drop in one of the quarters, and it's there to test you. So overall, how many bikes are sold is going to increase. And so you want to be increasing your production to take into account that demand is going up. So there you go. They're the reports. Most of the numbers are there to inform a serious business owner. I've given you the key ones. For the first couple quarters, make sure you understand what I've talked about in this report. If you understand that, then you'll make informed decisions. If you don't understand, you must ask. And the only way you're going to win this game is by understanding the numbers that I've talked about in this video. So I hope that's helped. Good luck.